Mr. Sterling?
Yes?
I'm Naomi.
Yes, it's a long time ago now, but I remember it very well. I was summoned to the office. My agent, I was with ICM at the time, and Dennis Selinger. My agent got a call from Eon. He said, "This is wonderful news, Karen. You have an interview with Cubby Broccoli, who's the producer of James Bond." I said, "Oh, that sounds good. Thank you." So I went along. I met him in Audley Street, South Audley Street, the Eon production offices. He was charming. He was such a nice man. I mean, I was very nervous, but on meeting him, I felt very much at ease. He made me feel at ease because he was very natural and very friendly, Italian American, and charming. And he said, I've seen some of your work and I've seen some of your posters. He'd seen the big old posters I had done I did them eventually for 12 years in England. It was a poster for, I'm allowed to say the name because they like me to say it, Lamb's Navy Rum, which was a dark men's rum. And I'd been the poster girl for that, big billboards, as they say in America. And so he said, "I've seen the posters." He said, "I like the image." I said, "Thank you very much." And he said, we're interested in you for the role of Naomi, who is not the lead, but it's a really interesting part. And I said, "Oh my goodness. Well, that's, sounds lovely. Thank you for thinking of me." And we chatted a bit more about some of the work I'd done before. And also about the Bond films, had I seen them? And yes, of course, I've seen the Bond films, so I knew all about it. And I also knew about the ladies' roles in the films. They'd had some wonderful, going way back to Ursula. I mean, how can you forget Ursula walking out of the water in that teeny-weeny bikini and just being iconic? She became iconic. And then you had Honor Blackman. You had some wonderful, strong characters. So to be offered this little role of Naomi, I went away quite happy, thinking, "Oh, that sounds good." And then I thought, no, because I saw other people waiting outside. I said, "I really don't stand a chance," but very nice man to have met. I didn't do a screen test. I didn't. I have done for other things. I did for Sinbad, Golden Voyage. I did, and for several other films I have. But I didn't do one. No. Isn't that funny? Yeah, really? Yeah. Cubby did say at the interview, he said, "I've seen your work. I've seen what you do." So I suppose he'd seen me in front of a camera, maybe. So I went home. At the same time, I'd been up for a role as Ursa in Superman. And again, my agent came back. He said, "I think they're interested in you for Ursa." I said, "Oh my goodness, that sounds interesting." So after that, I suppose it was a week to 10 days. I think it was Maud Spector. I think she was the casting lady, got back in touch with my agent and said, "We'd be very delighted if Caroline would accept the role of Naomi." So Dennis very excitedly phoned me up. He said, "Guess what?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "You have the role in Naomi if you want it." I said, "Oh," I said, "Can I call you back?" So I went and I told my parents, I said, "What do you think?" They said, "That sounds amazing. That sounds really good." But in the meantime, he'd also said, they were interested in me for Ursa. But he came back, the agent came back, and he said, "I think you should do Bond, because we know Bond. Bond is hugely popular, so and it's a nice little role." So I accepted. So the rest is history insofar as Naomi, but yeah. So what became a small role in a really super film, one of Roger's favorite, I know it was Roger's favorite of him, because he was amazing in that, became, well, we're here now in beautiful Heidelberg, sitting in this wonderful hotel, attending this beautiful Bond 60th anniversary. at the castle. So all those years later, mine was in '77. My film came out. In London, I remember exactly because I went to the premiere, and I remember the date. It was 7/7/77. How amazing is that? It's a long process doing a Bond film because it's so intricate and so many locations. So I think they'd been filming a month or two before. But Sardinia, I think we started later in the year. I think they were already fairly into it because I know Barbara, who I got on Barbara Bach, was very with the camera crew and everything, who were delightful, and of course Roger with the crew, perfect for Bond. And then of course we had the swimming pool to the side. So when you walked out of the back of the hotel, you came in the front door, went right through the restaurant and everywhere, walked out of the back. To the right-hand side was a lovely big pool, lovely open pool, and then you had the docking area for my speedboat. I mean, all the speedboats, but so you had that more or less in front where they all moored out these wonderful speedboats and jet skis now you call them. Ours was called a wet bike back in the day, and I think I remember the chap very well. Nelson Tyler was the inventor of the wet bike. And he also was the inventor of something called the Tyler mount, which is a camera mount, it's a bit like a dolly, but you can mount it really high. I haven't seen the pictures, but I know there was a lot of German press. I mean, there was a lot of press, but there was a lot of German press too, and I got on the back with Roger. I mean, yeah, that was really thrilling. My entrance, which was my first sort of big entrance into Bond, into meeting Roger. I'd been in the film before with the two professors, but into meeting Bond, it was the speedboat. It was a Riva speedboat that had been waiting for 5 days because we'd had terrible weather in Sardinia. And they all expected beautiful sunshine, and it was Sardinia. Rain wasn't heard of, but it was raining and it was a bit chilly. And I was in this rather nice but small bikini with a long, beautiful robe over the top, diaphanous robe. And so I had my lines, and they said, well, now you're going to go out with the driver of the boat, the Riva, and you have the sound man in the bottom of the boat so we can't see him. So he'll give you all the instructions as to what to do. I said, that's okay. He said, well, we'll do, we won't do a rehearsal. He said, I think we're going to go for it for real. We'll just do a run in and out with the speedboat, which we did. We did that. So we went out in the speedboat and we ran into where we were going to dock. No dialogue, nothing. So it was just for the camera, that one. So the second one, he said, I think, are you ready for a take? This was Lewis Gilbert. I said, yeah, I hope so. I think so. I've been waiting 5 days, so I think I'm ready. So we set out on the speedboat, which is very powerful. If you've ever been in one of those, or anybody's ever been in one, they're very impressive. We set off out there, and it was quite a long way because the Riva, in order to build up speed, because it's very powerful, it takes a long time. And then obviously he had to stop at a certain point and drift in. So we went out, I was ready. Lewis said before we went out, he said, right, Caroline, he said, you're standing up, we can see you up from afar, and then what you do on action, he said, you will sit down in the boat. And then as we get nearer, he said, and the clapper boy will tell you, the sound man will tell you, you stand up, and then you start to come in. So I said, okay. And then he said, then you sit down again, then you come up again. So I said, right, I think I've got that. Down, up twice. Right, perfect. So we set off, we were ready. I was very excited, very nervous, very excited. And Roger and all the crew were waiting on the side, on the dock. And they looked very far away because we were way out. So through the thing, Lewis said, right, he said, Caroline, ready on action, you will stand up, and then you will sit down. And then when you get closer, you'll stand up again. Right, okay. So I was all ready, and I was ready, and I thought I could hear something. I thought that's funny. It's it's making a funny noise, but I won't say anything. I thought it was the speedboat because it's something goes. I thought, what is that? That's something wrong with it. Anyway, I'll do what I'm told. So I was standing up in the speedboat. The man was ready. Action! Lewis shouted. So I was ready. So then I sat down. I sat down as I was told. And as I sat down, I suddenly felt a searing pain on my bottom. I think it was my right side, buttock. So it was the right side. I thought, what is that? And we were speeding along at that point, and I knew I had to get up in a minute. I knew Lewis had said, I've got to get up before, once you see them, they come, you have to stand up. So I thought, I don't know what to do. Anyway, I thought, I've got to keep going. This is my big moment. This is my entry into a Bond film. So I stood up, and I'm looking very, very fierce at this point because I'm in quite a lot of pain. My bottom feels very hot and sore. And anyway, then we draw up closer, and then I get out of the boat, and I walk up to Roger, and I say, Mr. Strongbird sent me to collect you, or whatever I say. And then he speaks back, and he says some nice things. And then they say, cut. Lewis says, cut. He said, I think we got that. I said, oh, that's good. He said, Caroline, you're pulling a funny face now. I said, I don't know what's happened. I said, and the lady rushed over, the costume lady. She said, oh my goodness. She said, she's got big red on her bottom. Big red. It was a bee. I'd sat on a bee. I think the bee was killed. I didn't see what happened to the bee, but that was my big entrance. So I looked decidedly tough. And then when Roger heard, he said, darling, he said, do you want me to kiss it better? I said, I don't think so, Roger. And Louis, his lovely wife, was there, and she was looking. She was actually smiling at that point, but yeah. So that was my entrance. Yeah. He was just wonderful to work with. So professional, so he just gave a lot of himself, Within the Bond, he was Roger, but he was also giving me something to react against, which was lovely. I like that. He's a very sweet man. Twinkly, but he would do quite cheeky little jokes before we went on, and the crew would be laughing, so people would be relaxed, which is the best way to work, if you can get that relaxing before you go on. So, yeah.
Can we offer you a drink before we go?
No, thank you. Mr. Stromberg's a very busy man. His time is precious.
What a handsome craft. Such lovely lines.
Yes, I was there for the opening of the stage, which was, again, I think in the summer, and I was wearing, so I already had my outfits. I was wearing my helicopter, the white jumpsuit with the belt and everything, and boots. So yes, I was wearing that for the launch, and a lot of the other ladies were there. Some of the ladies were there. Valerie was there. Valerie Leon was there. We were all there for the launch, and the Prime Minister Harold Wilson, he was there for the launch. I remember that very well, as was Cubby, and I think a very young Barbara was there, and the crew. So it was a very special moment, and what a stage that was. Because we all were invited to walk around it. I mean, whether they were full scale or not, it was very impressive. The submarines and massive water tanks, and it was the real thing. It looked so impressive. Goodness knows what they'd spent, but it was all. The thing is, goodness knows what they spent, but everything was on the screen, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day for a Bond film. They make it lavish and glamorous and as realistic and wonderful as they do. They really know their stuff. And I think Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson have really taken hold of the flag, and they're really flying the flag. They really are for Cubby. They've done it so well. He'd be so, if he's watching, He'd be so proud looking down, seeing them do it. I saw them actually 2 weeks ago. We had they were launching the new Sean Connery stage at Pinewood. So myself, Martine, Maddie, and Mariam Darbo, we all went along. And lovely to be with the girls. Oh, and Carol was there too, of course. Carol Ashby was there. So Barbara was there, Barbara Broccoli and Michael, and they did a little talk, and so that was a very special evening. Do you know what? It means everything. That to me is worth everything, because if people bother to come and see us, you know, us, I call us the Bond people, or any actors really, if they bother to come and see you and chat with you and take an interest and know your work, that is the biggest accolade one could ever have. And to be still doing it after all these years, and people still coming up to these wonderful shows, conventions, things like the event here in Heidelberg. So it's just, I'm always amazed. I can't believe it. I feel the luckiest girl in the world, you know, when that happens. It really is unbelievable, yeah. I love the event at the castle. The last one we have tonight, which I expect this will be shown much later date, but the last one we have tonight, and I can't wait again, because it's the best. It's like I'm watching a show, I'm watching a Broadway show, because you have these fantastic musicians, the Bond band, singers. You have this beautiful venue, this out of this world venue, the castle, and then you have the audience, the people. So we're sitting among the people, having this beautiful food in this extraordinary place. So what's not to love? I mean, it's just, and we've been treated so, I'm here with my agent, Jane, and we've just been treated so beautifully by everybody. Andreas, who invited, and Martin for the castle, and you, Ben, we've done the tour. I swear we've done the tour of Heidelberg. Not all of it, but it's so beautiful. The old town is amazing. I had a little chance to chat to the mayor last night. He was there at last night's. What a lovely chap. He's been mayor for 16 years, I think, and he obviously enjoys his job and is very proud of Heidelberg. So yeah, I want to come back. I love it too, as a pure tourist. Yeah, I just feel very blessed, very fortunate to get to go to places and do wonderful things and meet the people that are really true James Bond fans. It never ceases to amaze me that they come from all over the world, literally all over the world. And they are all over the world. I get a lot of letters, Bond fans. A lot of horror fans, but a lot of Bond fans too. So yes, I kind of, the two, it's an equal, it's a funny little thing. Because Sinbad, fantasy, horror and Bond, it's a really strange mixture, but I love it. I do, and Bond has a very special place in my heart. Yeah. All of it was just kind of out of this world, very surreal really for me, coming from London and growing up by the seaside, very, very simple little village. Beautiful, but, very different from Bond. So I feel very privileged to have been a little part of it. I really do.
I just would like to sing Sweet Caroline for you. Also for you, Ms. Lausby. Thank you very much for coming and to come directly from London to us in the castle. Thank you very much.
Listen, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to all who who watch the Bond films, who go to the films, to the theatres to watch them, also who watch them on television, and for sticking with us for 60 years. You are truly amazing. And coming to see us at events is wonderful, very heartwarming. So truly, you Bond fans, nobody does it better. Sounds a bit corny, but it's true. It comes from the heart.